Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. They humiliated and tied up a black woman, calling her a failure, until her billionaire husband made an entrance that changed everything. In the thriving city of Oak Ridge, nestled in the heart of Texas, where glass buildings reflect the blazing sun and palm-lined streets welcome a suited elite, Angela Moore walked straight and elegantly through the middle of the marble hall of the Westmont Grand Hall, one of the most prestigious venues in the region. The building, immense and decorated with gilded moldings, was hosting a major national conference on women's leadership and social innovation that day. The biggest names in business and politics were expected to attend. Angela wore a perfectly tailored, understated yet luxurious cream suit, matching beige heels, and a soft caramel-colored leather bag. Her carefully styled afro framed her face, her well-defined curls dancing lightly with every step. Around her neck was a discreet white gold necklace, a gift from her husband. On her chest, pinned with a precise gesture just minutes earlier, shone her official speaker badge. Angela Moore, Panel 1, Reinventing Leadership for Everyone. Her footsteps echoed confidently on the polished marble floor. She walked fearlessly, head held high, determined to speak, as she had done before in other cities, in other halls, before other, sometimes more hostile crowds. But this time, what she was about to experience was beyond anything she had imagined. She had barely passed through the revolving doors when her momentum was broken. "Madam," said a dry, almost annoyed voice, "the cleaning staff entrance is behind. This is for guests." It was Rick Davidson, in his 50s, with a set jaw and a hard gaze. He wore a black security uniform that was too tight for his heavy build and held a walkie-talkie in his hand, as if he expected to have to call for backup at any moment. Beside him, a few guests in suits watched the scene without intervening. Some smiled half-heartedly, as if the impending public humiliation was part of an old social reflex. Angela stopped abruptly. She didn't answer right away. She took a deep breath. Then, in a calm, professional tone, she presented her badge with polite gentleness. "I'm a speaker on the Reinventing Leadership panel. Angela Moore. Here's my official badge." Rick didn't even deign to look at her. He narrowed his eyes as if she'd shown him a Monopoly piece. An icy tension settled over the hall. At that moment, a second security guard, Karen Whitmore, approached. Blonde, 30-something. Haughty look, she took a quick glance at the badge, without touching it, then looked up at Angela suspiciously. "There must be some mistake," she whispered. "Are you sure it's not a fake?" Angela felt a shiver run down her spine. Not fear, not anger either. An older, more painful form. The familiar humiliation, that feeling of being questioned not for what you do, but for who you are. She knew what it meant. She'd experienced it at university, in stores, in meetings, and now, even at the height of her career, in front of a room where she was supposed to inspire women from all walks of life, she was being treated like a thief or an intruder. People were beginning to stop. A quiet murmur rose among the guests. A few phones were discreetly raised. A young woman in a blue dress, in the distance, hesitated to speak, but finally turned away, embarrassed. The collective silence was deafening. Rick took a step toward her. Without warning, he grabbed her arm roughly. "Let's check all this out. Follow me now." Angela pulled away with dignity. "I won't go anywhere without speaking to the organizer or the protocol officer. You are making a serious mistake." But his words fell on deaf ears. Rick signaled to Karen. The two officers surrounded her and, within seconds, dragged her out of the lobby as the guests looked on in confusion, embarrassment, or indifference. She was led through a dimly lit service corridor that smelled of cleaning products and damp. A metal door creaked. They took her into a small, windowless room where brooms, carts, and buckets were stored. Karen took a pair of plastic ties out of her pocket, the kind sometimes used for impromptu arrests, and tied Angela's wrists to a metal chair, like a criminal. "Do you think wearing a fancy suit makes you a boss?" Rick said mockingly. "You can buy clothes, but you'll never buy your place here." Angela didn't scream. She didn't cry. Her gaze, fixed, was lost in the void before her. Not that of someone giving up, but that of someone waiting. Someone who knows the story never ends where the tormentors think it will. Her breathing was slow, controlled. She knew exactly who she was, and what they had just unleashed. In her well-hidden inside pocket, a small button had just been pressed. A simple click, a discreet security device designed by her husband himself. It had a poetic name, Silent Echo, and that click had just sent an alert message with its precise location. In the main auditorium of the Westmont Grand Hall, the opening panel is approaching. Excitement is rising. The black leather armchairs are almost all occupied by business figures, renowned academics, and several political leaders. The cameras are ready. The specialist journalists are seated. The lighting is carefully dimmed, and a huge screen displays in gold letters. Reinventing Leadership for a More Equitable World. The conference presenter, Jonathan Rees, a TV presenter well known for his cheerful tone, nervously looks at his watch. He leans towards a stressed assistant, Sophie Allen, a young woman in a black suit, nervously fiddling with her tablet. "Where is Mrs. Moore?" he asks in a low but dry voice. She was supposed to open the panel with the mayor. "We have 3 minutes. I don't know," Sophie stammers. She was seen at the entrance, but then nothing. She doesn't answer her phone. In the service room, a few corridors away, Angela Moore raises his voice despite his wrists being tied with plastic ties. "Call the director. Call Madison Cole, the event organizer. She knows me. She'll tell you who I am." Her voice is firm. She doesn't implore. She demands. But this dignity only breeds more cynicism in Karen Whitmore, who, leaning on the door, nonchalantly chews a piece of gum. "Sure, and while we're at it, let's call the White House too? How many more fake stories do you have to come up with?" Rick, on the other hand, just sighs. He senses something is wrong, but his pride is too compromised to back down. He thinks he's right. He thinks he has the situation under control. He has no idea that this narrow, windowless room is about to become the center of a media hurricane. Meanwhile, at the private Oak Ridge Airport, about 15 minutes away, a jet Gulfstream G700 rolls slowly across the tarmac, heated by the Texas sun. The pilot has just received permission to park. The jetway lowers with a hydraulic blast. Jamal Moore, 47, slowly descends the steps. Tall, charismatic, wearing a charcoal-colored tailored suit, shirt without a tie, dark sunglasses. His face is impassive, but his jaw is clenched. A former street child from Detroit, he is today the founder and CEO of More Tech International, a leading company in green technology, smart security systems, and sustainable energy solutions on a global scale. His phone vibrates gently in his hand. A coded message is displayed. Restricted movement. Abnormal location detected. Service room. Westmont Hall. He stops dead. He designed this message himself. It's the System Sentinel, a technology developed solely to protect Angela, his wife, in all her public outings. She does not press it lightly. Someone prevented her from moving freely. Someone prevented her from speaking. Without a second's hesitation, he dials a speed dial. Calvin Brooks, his head of personal security, a former FBI agent, picks up the phone instantly. "Code Rouge," Jamal said in an icy voice. "Angela is being held in Westmont Hall, duty room. Activate Sentinel protocol. Send a team there. I want lawyers in 15 minutes, and the media notified. Someone just laid hands on my wife. We'll teach them the cost of underestimating Angela Moore." "Got it, boss. The unit is coming. I'll take care of everything." Jamal hangs up. He climbs into the armored SUV waiting for him. Inside, a screen displays Angela's position in real time. The small red dot is motionless. Too motionless. "Speed up," he orders the driver, "and call Madison Cole. She'll soon find out she's hosting a conference in the middle of a national scandal." Backstage in the conference room, the moderator begins to lose patience. The city's mayor, Diana McAllister, herself present, asks, "Why hasn't this panel started yet? Where's Ms. Moore? She's our keynote speaker." Sophie, panicked, looks at the event director. We think she never came in." "Fo," says a voice in the background. A young guest, having filmed everything with her phone at the entrance, approaches. She shows a video where we see Angela being violently grabbed by Rick. She adds, "I didn't know who she was, but now I know they made a big mistake." Tensions rise. Several people rise from their seats, agitated murmurs. The organizer, Madison Cole, pales. She picks up her phone, dials a number. Her hand is shaking, but it's too late. Outside, 6 black SUVs slow down in front of the doors of the Westmont Grand Hall. Private security team descends silently, wearing dark glasses, earpieces, files in hand. Behind them, journalists alerted by an anonymous message begin to flow in. And in the center, Jamal Moore walks, determined, towards the building where his wife is humiliated. This is no longer just a conference. It is a public lesson in consequences which is about to burst. 30 minutes later, while the conference is in full swing, an unusual commotion sets in at the main entrance of the Westmont Grand Hall. Engines roar, headlights pierce the darkness of the corridor. An impressive line of black vehicles pulls up authoritatively in front of the glass doors. A dozen men and women in impeccable suits calmly descend, carrying briefcases, phones in hand, and ID badges. Among them, a team of journalists alerted by anonymous sources sets up, cameras ready, microphones deployed, smartphones pointed toward the entrance. Then, in the middle of this escort, appears Jamal Moore. He doesn't need to run. He moves slowly, confidently, like a king entering the courtroom where he will deliver justice. His face is closed, almost grave. Not an ounce of nervousness crosses his features. Behind him, Calvin Brooks, its security chief, is holding a tablet. The screen displays real-time images from the center's surveillance cameras. Calvin locates the service room where Angela is being held. Jamal gives a silent signal, and the team moves with methodical determination. In the service room, Angela is still there, sitting with her wrists bound, but the expression on her face has changed. She feels the strength coming, invisible but palpable. When Jamal opens the door, she looks up at him. Her gaze fills with a mixture of relief and pride. Without a word, Jamal kneels before her. He pulls a box cutter from his pocket and cuts the plastic ties with a quick, precise movement. Then, gently, he wraps his arms around her, shielding her shoulder with his coat from the outside world. Rick and Karen, the security guards, stand frozen. Their faces pale as reality catches up with them. Their clumsy actions, the humiliations they inflicted, are now exposed. They realize, too late, that their mistake has become public and irreversible. Jamal slowly stands up and turns to face them. His voice, calm but penetrating, echoes through the room. You made a mistake you can never undo, but you will answer for it. Before the law, before the press, and before the whole world. He pulls out his phone and, with a simple gesture, activates the live broadcast. The images are constantly playing on social media, news channels, and online newspapers. We see Angela, tied up, impassive. We hear the humiliating remarks, the refusal to acknowledge her legitimate role. We feel the weight of the silence of the organizers, who did nothing to help her. In less than 24 hours, the name of Westmont Grand Hall becomes synonymous with everyday racism, entrenched prejudice, and systemic discrimination. Calls to boycott the venue are growing, while powerful voices from around the world are rising in support of Angela Moore. But Jamal refuses to settle for a simple trial. With his team, he launches an ambitious national campaign against what he calls the professional profiling, this scourge which consists of discriminating against black people in suits, in positions of power, simply because some refuse to believe that they have their place. Angela, for her part, becomes the voice of this campaign. She receives dozens of apologies from across the leadership industry, the business world, and even from some of the organizers. She accepts them politely, but without forgetting, because she knows that resilience isn't expressed in anger alone, but in memory. A few days later, she published a powerful article in the New York Times, titled, "I wasn't angry. I was ready." She writes, "They saw me as a failure, even though I was there to talk about resilience. They tied me up to keep me from speaking, but my story soared far beyond their walls. What they didn't understand was that I wasn't alone, and I never will be." In the courts, Rick and Karen lose their jobs. Westmont Grand Hall is being sued for discrimination and complicity in public humiliation. One evening later, in the quiet comfort of their home, Angela and Jamal share a quiet moment on the terrace, drinks in hand. The stars light up one by one in the Texas sky. "You know," said Angela, smiling, "they thought they would break me." "And you?" Jamal replies, his eyes locked with hers. "You let them believe it. But in the end, you taught them a lesson far greater than anger." She nods, serene. "I didn't have to scream. I just had to be myself, and let the truth do its work." Their eyes meet. In this shared silence, victory resonates louder than all the shouts.